The whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Please have a seat, speak into the microphone so everybody can hear, and state your name for the record and spell your last name.
Jodi Fetty, F-E-T-T-Y.
You may inquire.
Ms. Fetty, you and I have met before in preparation of this case, correct?
Correct.
And I spoke with you after, I believe, the last trial and before the last trial, correct?
Yeah.
Now, currently, where are you residing at?
Portage County Jail.
And you are awaiting sentencing in this case, correct?
Correct.
Now, you were originally charged with, and correct me where I'm wrong, complicity to murder, aggravated burglary, and aggravated robbery. Is that right?
Yes.
You were assigned an attorney,
Yes.
and you counseled with your attorney, correct?
Correct.
Prior to making any decision about what you were going to do, either exercise your right to trial or enter a plea of guilty, you talked at length with your attorney. I believe his name was Mr. Vanderveer, correct?
Yeah.
At some point, you and Mr. Vanderveer made a decision, and that decision was for you to enter a plea of guilty to all the charges that were filed against you.
Correct.
And as a part of that plea, the state, meaning the prosecutor's office and the court system, made no representations to you as to what your sentence would be, what your recommendation would be, or there were no deals, so to speak. Would that be true?
True.
Jodi, then tell the jury...
One second. Counsel will approach.
I told him he didn't need to be here.
Okay, that was my question. You don't want to
He
have...
was here yesterday, but he couldn't make it this morning.
Okay. You don't need your attorney here?
He was here. I told him he could leave.
Okay.
Jodi, we talked both in trial preparation and I believe at the last trial about why in your mind you made that decision to plead to everything. Tell the jury why you did that.
It was the right thing to do.
Why is that?
To not put the family through any more than what they've already been through.
Mr. Lowther's family?
Yeah.
And you understand you're facing sentencing at the end of this. You agreed to come forward and testify if anyone called you in the trial, correct?
Correct.
Anyone tell you what to say or how to say it, or tell you to say something that was not true?
No.
And are you prepared this morning to tell us about the events that occurred in the late evening hours of July 1st, 2009 and the early morning hours of July 2nd, 2009?
Yeah.
Tell the jury, first of all, where you were in the early evening hours of July 1st, 2009 and what you were doing that day. Sort of early in the evening, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock.
I was at home drinking wine.
And who was present with you at your home?
There were a lot of people. My mother-in-law, some friends also drinking.
Okay. And where would your home be that you were at? Where was it?
24 State Route 59.
Where's that at? What city?
Hosanna.
And landmark-wise, where's it around?
Cotton Corners.
Cotton Corners. So you're there in the early afternoon drinking wine with some people you know. At that time, who was Daryl Dukes to you at that time? Who was he?
My boyfriend.
Okay, how long had you known him in July prior to that? For how long?
Since February.
Since February? So you dated him from February to July?
Yeah.
Okay. And just so we can get all of the players, so to speak, in your relationship with them, I'm going to go through each one, and then I want you to just tell the jury how you characterize your relationship, meaning what were they to you? Friend, acquaintance, boyfriend. Daryl Dukes, I think you already said was your boyfriend, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know on July 1st, 2009, a guy by the name of Jonathan Dukes?
I did not.
You had never met him before?
No.
Okay. Did you know a guy by the name of Bobby Nolan on July 1st, 2009?
No.
And at that time, did you at any time had met with either Mr. Nolan or Mr. Jonathan Dukes prior to July 1st?
No.
Okay. So the only person that you knew in this event Or I'm sorry, there's one other person I didn't ask you about. Cortez Oliver. On July 1st, 2009, did you know Cortez Oliver at all?
No.
So prior to that night, all you knew was Daryl Dukes.
Correct.
And does he sometimes go by a nickname?
Didi.
Didi, short for Daryl Dukes?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so take us back to those early evening hours. You're at your house drinking wine. What happens next?
Didi picked me up by the car lot by my house at about 10:30, and we drove to his sister's house.
Where is that located at?
The street,
You have to speak up, Jodi, into the microphone.
Henderson Street.
Henderson Street, all right. And you go to Daryl Dukes' sisters?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do while you're there?
We didn't stay long. He just made a couple sales, and we went to his grandma's house.
So at his sister's house, he made a couple sales. Explain that to the jury. What do you mean?
Cocaine.
Okay, who was he selling cocaine to?
I don't know.
Okay. Just to cut through some longer testimony here, what was Daryl Dukes' occupation at that time?
A drug dealer.
Did you assist him in that endeavor?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to his sister's house and you guys are dealing drugs, correct?
Correct.
And then at some point he makes some sales. You go to where next?
Grandmother's.
Tell us about that.
That's where Cortez and Jonathan came around.
And when you say Cortez and Jonathan, identify them by their full names.
Jonathan Dukes, Cortez Oliver.
And is that the first time you ever laid eyes on them?
Yes.
Where do you see them at?
Outside of the car, on the driver's side of the car.
And what's happening at that point?
They're just talking about that Cortez wanted to set up this robbery.
And then what? What do you guys do next?
They needed to find transportation to get there.
Okay, how did you go about doing that?
They take their vehicle and park it at his sister's and get into Daryl's vehicle with us.
At this point, you are in whose car?
Daryl's.
All right, what kind of car was it? Do you remember? If you remember.
Maybe a Nissan. I'm not sure.
You remember what color it was?
Beige.
Okay. So you're in the car. Describe to us who's in the car and where's everybody seated at this point?
I'm in the passenger seat and Jonathan's behind me. Cortez is behind Daryl.
And where's
Daryl's
Daryl?
driving.
Daryl's driving. So it's you four in the car, and you just meet these men, Jonathan Dukes and Cortez Oliver. Do you see Jonathan Dukes in the courtroom today?
I do.
Just point out where he's seated and describe what he's wearing.
Sitting in front of me, wearing a green shirt.
The record reflects he's identified Jonathan Dukes.
Record also reflect.
All four of you are in the car now, and John's behind you, and Cortez is in the car, and Daryl's in the car. Tell us at that point, did you speak at all to John? Were you introduced to him? How would you characterize your initial relationship with him?
I didn't say anything to him. He didn't say anything to me.
Okay, what about Cortez?
No.
Where did the four of you go after that? You all get in the car, and then where do you go?
Bobby's party.
Bobby Nolan's party?
Yeah.
And then what happens?
They went inside and got him and brought him out because they wanted a ride, and he was supposed to have been their ride, and he's debating whether he wants to have anything to do with it because Cortez had told too many people, gotten too many people involved. They were all arguing. He refused, and they got back in the car.
Then where do you, when you say they got back in the car,
John.
there's this argument with Bobby Nolan, he refuses, you're in the car, describe who's in the car and where you're seated.
Jonathan and Cortez got back in the car in the same spots they were in before.
Okay. And you and Didi are up front?
Yeah.
What do you go next and what do you do?
They drove out to Rootstown, and we dropped Jonathan and Cortez off.
You remember in what area you went to out there? What road you were on or anything?
Almond Road?
And were you on your way to this burglary or robbery?
Right.
Okay. Tell us about what happens when you get in the general vicinity of Mr. Lowther's home.
They panicked because the lights were on in the house.
Well, first of all, let's slow down.